And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, General Manager at WEIU. Co-host Tristan Thomas.
Good afternoon.
Last semester at EIU.
Yeah, getting close. It's exciting.
So we're going to talk today to the Director of the Civic Engagement and Volunteerism, Beth Gillespie.
Hello.
And her number one assistant, Crystal Brown.
Hello.
And Michael Gillespie did not get to make it today, so I'm no longer speaking with him. No, just kidding. We were hoping he was going to come, but as you said, he has a crazy day today. So
yeah, he does. He'll come next time for sure. He also he's compiling the data for the survey for this year. So
cool. So we'll definitely want to talk about it. We're talking a lot about food insecurity as well as the campus, the new campus food pantry, and kind of all things related to what you all do. But more importantly, I think I want to start with the food pantry because we were so excited about a year ago when you announced it was going to open. Then it opened last fall. And where are we at today with everything?
Oh, it's been such a wild ride. Thank you for having us back to talk about this today. We are really excited to share that the EIU Campus Food Pantry is up and running. We have served over 700 students so far since we opened on October 1st, and it's just been really incredible.
I want to switch over to you for a second, Tristan. I mean, when you think about the food pantry, do you have friends who use it, or do you know about how, as a student, what's your perspective for the fact that there's a lot of students who don't know where their next meal is coming from?
Yeah, my thing is I was really surprised to hear about the amount of food insecurity there is across campus, and you could go into a little bit of maybe some of those numbers. But for me, I've always, my parents have supported me. I've always had, food and money to buy food, and so just seeing that there's differences and different, levels of people who have those needs is just like something I don't even consider day to day a lot of times. So yeah, if you could just go into maybe some of the numbers on and just how many people are affected by food insecurity.
Absolutely. So Dr. Michael Gillespie has been doing research every year for the last 5 years, 6 years, asking students, if they consider themselves food insecure, and for just in case somebody doesn't know, being food insecure means you wake up in the morning and you don't know if you'll have access to enough food for 3 nutritious meals to fuel your body for what's happening in your day. And some students wake up and they know, okay, well, I have the ability to get 1 meal a day. Some students wake up and know that they don't have anything, and so all that they have the ability to grab is, say, a Mountain Dew and a bag of chips, right? Well, that sounds like a great breakfast. Sometimes, if that's your only option, then that's where the issue is. If that's your only option, obviously chips and soda are not a nutritionally adequate meal. So it's roughly 40% of our students here on campus report being food insecure, and this is not an issue that is just happening here at Eastern. It's happening across the country on all college campuses, and so we just really wanted to be able to do something about that to support that 40% of students who, on top of the stress of school, the stress of working towards graduation and looking for those internships and those jobs and doing well academically, they're also trying to figure out, how do I do that without enough food to take care of my body?
And so that's when the Campus Food Pantry, stepped in. And when you said about 700 students so far, so what are the rules? Can a student come once a week, a couple times a week? And, and then the other thing I want to know is when you talk to the students, kind of what are they saying?
Yeah. Crystal, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Students can come twice a month to get food. And interestingly enough, we are having some students that are using that service twice a month as they need it, but we're still getting a lot of new students every month. A lot of them are, when we say, why aren't you coming back in a survey? Do you know that that option is there for you? They're saying, we're using it just as we need it. We're not using it twice a month just because we can, which is good to see that they're using it as that need is there for them.
So a little bit conservative, that's, which is good. Now, on the twice a month, does that mean they can get enough for like 6, 7, 8? What are the rules there?
Yep, we are providing them with enough nutritionally adequate food to provide 9 meals for them, or 3 days worth of food. So things from soup and cereal to pasta, protein, peanut butter, fruits and vegetables, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe a little more on the variety. What would you guys offer?
Yeah, like I just said, so they we have a staple items that they get. Like they'll get when we have them crackers and juice. When we have those items, they'll get macaroni and cheese and beans and peanut butter. And then we want to give the students as much choice as possible as well, because if you may not like, for example, under vegetables, if you don't like peas or corn, you're not going to eat that stuff when we give it to you. So we want to give you the option to say, okay, based on what we currently have in stock, would you like green beans, corn, or peas? Which ones would you like to have? So things like for vegetables and fruit, the meat choice, SpaghettiOs or beefaroni or canned chicken, the cereal, the types of pasta that you want to have, rice or spaghetti noodles, what are your choices that you want to have within those?
And first of all, nobody wants peas. Oh,
I like peas.
oh, you're the one. There you
Yeah.
go. So, what about like? I guess not everybody has access to also cook that. So if you're in a dorm, and I don't know how, at least when I lived in the dorms, they might have had a microwave, but we did. So what about those students? Is there available stuff for people who live in a dorm and don't have a food plan?
Each residence hall does have a kitchen
Okay,
in
they
it.
do now, all right.
And from my understanding, there are some pots and pans available in those kitchens for students to use to cook the food on the stove if
okay.
they don't have access to a microwave.
That makes me feel a lot better. The other thing is, the obvious question is too, where do you get the food? Is it all volunteers? Do you have a budget for your department, or where's all that come from?
So the Campus Food Pantry is 100% funded off of donations. There is no student fee money paying for it. There is no departmental funds, student appropriations to pay for this. It's 100% off of donations from our campus students and faculty and staff that maybe have done can drives or donated money, and as well as our community. As far as where the food comes from, we are doing the best that we can to make that dollar go as far as it can. So items that we can get from the Eastern Illinois Food Bank, we are getting from them because it's either free through them or it's pennies on the dollar is what their costs are.
Beth, you used to always say $1 there is really $10, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then things that we can't get from them or more of retail price items from them that we're buying locally through our grocery stores here.
Mm-hmm. And if you're wondering why, we've had you on for the past 3 or 4 years, and this was brought to light by Dr. Gillespie a few years ago, and I was shocked, and as you were, Tristan, that 4 out of 10 EIU students say they don't know where they're getting their next meal from. And I told a buddy of mine yesterday, and he goes, "You're kidding?" I go, "No, this is something that's real," and I would have never thought about it at Eastern and living in Coles County, and like you said, always been able to have someone provide for me or by myself. And so I'm just fascinated by this in not the right way, I guess, when you think about the fact that 4 out of 10 students. Then I did a little research this morning that in Illinois, 1 million people will go to bed hungry tonight. Over 1 million.
Wow.
And then you think about that, 1 million people. That's incredible. So when you hear stats like this, how do we make up this ground? Is there a way to make up the ground?
Well, that's exactly why we started the food pantry, It's been a passion of Crystal's for before I got here, and then once we started working together, we just have been really focused on trying to make this pantry happen and be a solution so that we could support these students, because it impacts their ability to pay attention in the classroom. It impacts their ability to retain information. It impacts their ability to get towards graduation. Like, I know you're, Tristan, 2.5 months away from that?
Yeah, in May.
So that's coming, but the reason that students are here is to be successful academically and so that they can get that degree and then go on and be successful wherever they end up. And we can't let something like not having enough access to food get in the way of students reaching those goals and then going out and changing the world wherever they end up. So it just has been a focus of ours so that we can try and reduce that number from 1 million, because that's just...
It's staggering.
Yeah.
The amount. You're not the only place that's also doing this in Coles County, which is good news. So can you talk about some of your partners or people that that are also providing food for people that are, that in the community and on campus that can also get food?
Yeah, so like Crystal was saying, we have been so grateful to have Todd Foster's support from the Charleston Food Pantry. We modeled our pantry here on campus off of what he has going on at the Charleston Area Family Church's pantry. They're open 4 days a week, and one of those days on Thursday nights, we take volunteers from our EIU campus there every Thursday year-round to help support the community from that way. So we've got a really strong working relationship with him, and then he has kind of shown us the ropes on how do we order, what things should we get, what do we keep an eye out for, and it's just been a tremendous partner to us from that perspective. We also have got Standing Stone, which has got a thrift store and a food pantry here in town. People are eligible to go and get food support there every 2 weeks. There's Soup Stop here in Charleston, where they have free lunches happening 4 days a week, and the list goes on and on. We've compiled a list of all of the resources within Coles County where people can go as long as they're a resident here in Coles County. So there's places in Ashmore, there's a ton of supports in Mattoon. Because
That's on your website then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because we, like, a lot of it is just being aware of where do I go to get that help, and then feeling comfortable enough to go and ask, which is something we've worked really hard to do. Is we want all of our students to come into the pantry and feel welcomed and safe, so that they know that this is a space where they can get that support, and then that they'll be willing to come back. And one of the ways that we do that is by having student volunteers. We want it to be students supporting students so that it feels a little more comfortable for them, and to normalize the experience, because again, this is not something that's unique to our EIU students. EIU students, it's happening on every college campus across the country. And so, last fall we had 140 student volunteers who helped us power our own EIU Campus Pantry from October through December, which is just very cool.
And you mentioned some of those student volunteers. What are some of the volunteer opportunities for students here at your pantry on campus?
So our student volunteers are the ones who are actually like packing up the food that our students are choosing. Like Crystal said, we really want to give students as much of a choice, whether it's personal preference. Every time Crystal and I go in there, we have an argument about which jelly is better, grape or strawberry. It's obviously strawberry.
Yes, you're right.
True.
So, but we want them to make that choice so that the food is comfortable and familiar to them, that they'll eat it, use it to fuel their bodies. But our students are the ones who gather that up. So the students come in, we sign them in, we just get a quick, small amount of information on them, and then they have like a shopping form, and they say, this is what I want, here are the, out of the choices, here's what I select, and then it's our student volunteers who pack that up, give it the bags of food to the students, and we send them on their way.
Dumb question, but for the people maybe as a new student or somebody on campus who doesn't know, where is the pantry located?
That's a great question. We are on the garden level of McAfee.
Garden.
It's also known as the bottom floor, but garden level just
I
sounds
like
a
that.
little
It's cooler.
nicer.
I had a class in the garden level
Yeah.
way back when.
We've got windows,
Yeah.
so, but we're room 1347. It's right outside of the brand new elevator that they put in McAfee, so it is completely accessible and easy to get to for anyone to come and get that support.
You touched on one thing I want to talk about, but getting brave enough for students to want to come in, because there's a little bit of trepidation sometimes because there might be a feeling of embarrassment. They don't know where the next field is. Is there any other, I hate to use the word tricks of the trade, but any way that you can get somebody in that maybe doesn't feel like they want people to know they can't afford food? Is there anything they do to entice them?
I think having students volunteer, because we always
that
ask, we have someone from our team who's there who's managing the sign-in process, just so that somebody understands all the pieces. But we always ask to the volunteers, do you want to get food today? So it isn't them saying, I need help. It's us saying to them, we're glad you're here. Do you need support? So that can help open the door. And then we always ask people to tell their friends, that they've come, and that, because whether they're students who are coming in directly to get food or the students who are volunteering, something we hear all the time is, I had no idea that it was this kind of food. It's a lot of name brand stuff. Our cereals are Honey Nut Cheerios, they're Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We've had Lucky Charms, it's good, regular, normal food. I don't know why I'm putting quotes around it.
No, it makes sense.
But we want them to see what it is that we offer, so that they're like, oh, this makes a big difference, and so that if they have a positive experience with us, we think that they'll spread the word in their own circles.
Is there anything that the students ask for that you don't have that seems to be one of those, I wish we had more, whatever it is? What are some of those products? I like to go to the details about
Yes, there
silly
is.
stuff.
And it's ultimately something we hope we can do in the future. But we hear a lot of students wanting bread, fresh vegetables, produce, those kind of things. And that is something that we hope that maybe at some point next school year we'll be able to get fridge, freezer, and have some of those items for the students.
Makes sense. So,
Yeah.
Tristan?
Yeah, and is there anything else you're looking to maybe expand your services, or is that the food that students are asking for more of your focus?
I think that's our next focus for, as you would say, expansion, is to be able to hopefully have a fridge and freezer down the road and have some of that fresh produce, those fresh vegetables and breads for students. With that, I would say once we have that stuff going, you could easily add like milk or eggs or things like that so students can make other food items.
And people are a little bit more picky these days when it comes in. There's a lot more, vegans and things like that. I mean, and it's probably even tougher for somebody if you're food insecurity and you're a vegan or things like that. So can you help those folks at all, or hey, what do you do?
Yes, like my husband is vegan, so like it's something that is always in the back of my head. Obviously, there are going to be dietary restrictions or challenges that people face that we aren't going to be able to accommodate, but we do have gluten-free cereal that's available in the pantry right now. When we were looking at like the protein items, we immediately were like, we need to do canned chicken and ravioli so that there's a beef and then, not red meat option, poultry. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yep.
Sorry, that felt like it took a lot of work to get that out of my head. But we also know that there's a lot of vegetarians out there, and so we needed to have something that could fall within that category that would not have meat in it. So we are offering the SpaghettiOs, and we've seen a lot of international student traffic through the food pantry, and we know that there's a lot of vegetarians in that population as well. So that's been the number one thing we've had to go to the store to replenish the fastest, is because the SpaghettiOs are a really popular item that people are choosing. So we're not, it's a learning process for Crystal and I. Both of us tend to be like, let's do this. It sounds like a big deal, but how hard can it be? And then we get into it and we're like, we have to move how many pounds of food over? 9,000 pounds of food? Okay, well.
Come on, volunteers.
We need some help with that, but like, yeah. It's a learning process. So we have a board up that says like, what kind of items would you like? Because we don't want to assume that we know. And we also are trying to do some exploration with the international student office and figure out, are there other foods or spices that we could provide that would be helpful and familiar, so that again people can come and get the support they need.
A couple other things I want to talk about. One of them is that right now, even in normal grocery stores, there's still a lack of some products. Does that concern you? Because people that with money aren't even can't even really get some certain products right now. I know my wife went shopping this weekend and had a heck of a time getting some just basic things. But does that trickle down to where the food pantry, which is relying on this, can't get stuff too?
Yeah, I mean, in reality, Beth was just mentioning SpaghettiOs is a popular item and something that we have to replenish frequently, and that's one of the newest items at the grocery store. The shelves are empty all the time. So yeah, so it's what can we possibly do in the meantime if we can't get those items, or do we need to just keep looking elsewhere? It's trying to figure out how we can get creative with that within our means.
And then the other thing that's so frustrating with this is, again, 40% of the food that we make today in this county will go to waste.
Yeah.
When there's 40% of the people in this county don't have anything to eat. Common sense would say, take that 40% and give it to the other 40% and we can all eat. But because health rules and laws and regulations. But what can we do to, eliminate food waste? And when I say that, I mean eliminate it by not destroying it away, but making it accessible in some way. Is there a way to make that accessible to folks, or is it just, are we stuck right now?
I mean, if we had an answer to that, we could solve world hunger, It is hard. Like you were alluding to, there's so many regulations in place and rules that people have to follow in order to keep everybody else safe. And we've put a couple ideas on the table that we thought were worth considering. And, once we got into like the details of it, we just haven't found a solution yet. Now, that's not saying that there's not a solution out there. We just haven't figured it out so far.
And also, do you take public donations of food? And if someone wanted to help you guys out, how would they go about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We will happily take any donations from anybody. If they wanted to bring us physical items, food items, anytime the pantry's open, they could bring them directly to the pantry. If that doesn't work for them or isn't as easy, they could just call or email our office and set up a time that we can meet them and get those food items from them, and then we can get it over to the pantry. Mm-hmm. If it's a monetary donation that they want to do, again, they can drop it off to us. But we do have a partnership with the Eastern Illinois University foundation, and they can just make a donation online directly through the foundation to the Campus Food Pantry.
When will, were you done? I'm sorry. When will Dr. Gillespie's research be done? So we'll know kind of like the latest numbers. Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot again, but
April?
I mean, your last name is Gillespie, so you
I
should
know.
know this. So.
I'll say April.
Okay.
I think. I do want to just jump in and say two other things about what Crystal was talking about. 100% of the donations made to the pantry go directly into purchasing food. 100% of the donations made go back.
So you don't have any overhead, no rent or anything? No,
Nope.
That's good.
Nope. And the other thing I want to say too is just a shout out to our facilities crew. For their holiday party in December with their staff, they did a challenge, and they brought in over 1,000 pounds of food for our students. So it was a huge day. We went over and loaded up the van. We couldn't see out any of the windows. They were laughing as we almost bottomed out. I mean, it was wild how much food they had brought in, but that food stocked the pantry for we have extra shelves in the back that are not our staple items or our consistent items, but students can choose and pick those, based on what they want and what they need. And that 1,000 pounds of food took care of our students for the month of January. So
That's good news.
We were super obviously grateful to have that, but also we were it's already gone, our students have a need, and we were grateful that the facilities team was able to help make that happen and do that level of good. So we've had over 3,000 pounds of food donated just the first semester alone, and that number is just going to keep climbing. So
We're talking with Crystal Brown and Beth Gillespie from the director of the Civic Engagement and Volunteer Office, which is, a crazy name when you think about it. But you do more than just the food pantry.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left today. So what other things are going on over there, and how students get involved, and what people should know about in the community?
Yeah, so our office is super, super busy. Obviously, the back half of our name, volunteering, is pretty easy to understand. We have volunteer opportunities happening 6 days a week. Students can go out and do some good, both on campus and off. On average, we have about 250 volunteer opportunities that we manage each semester, so there's always something happening. But then right before COVID hit, we started talking about the civic engagement part of our name, and it was what is that? Are we doing enough about civic engagement? And really started having conversations about building programs up around that. And in a nutshell, civic engagement is any act or action that is meant to positively impact or improve a community. So when you talk about a community, it could be a classroom, it could be a team, it could be a college campus or a town or a country, right? So anything that's meant to improve or positively influence. And so we started to look at all of our programs through that lens. And so we came up with a ton of voter registration, because obviously voting, whether it's for a state, a local, or a federal election, that's meant to positively impact or influence. So we wanted to do voting registration stuff. We were big with the census, which feels like 10 years ago already, and it was only 2. We are doing educational programs talking that have a focus on things that are happening in our community and in our country right now, but coming at those from a non-controversial topic. We're really taking a historical look back on how did we get to this point in our country today, and we just want to create a safe space for people, regardless of how they think when they walk in the door, to come together to learn, to absorb some maybe new or different information, and maybe they'll think differently, maybe they'll think deeper, but it's just a space to come in to kind of gather that information. So we've got civic action hours happening that are led by faculty. The one that we just had was with Dr. Alonzo Ward from the history department, talking about the history of keeping people of color from being able to vote. And so that was really interesting. The one that we're doing in April is going to be how did climate change become a political issue? Climate change just is climate change. So, we're taking out the argument, and we're just going to look at how did we get here? We're doing a Women Up conference the end of March, where we are talking about just issues we face walking through the world as women today. That's free for any and all EIU students. We just helped yesterday with Greek leadership training. And the list goes on and on and on. So there's lots of different ways to get involved with us. Did I miss any of our big programs? Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
We have 2 other big programs coming up this semester. Saturday, April 2nd will be our Spring Adventure EIU. So students can sign up individually or they can sign up as a team and do just a really fun scavenger hunt around campus, finding clues and getting to know each other while they're learning more about our campus and also giving back and doing some service at that event. And then we'll end out the semester doing our annual Panther Service Day. So we'll be sending students out in groups off campus to different nonprofit agencies to do some good and help our agency partners.
And hopefully you'll be out there without mask and enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
At that time.
Fingers crossed, right? And not last but not least, we have our Panther Service Awards.
Yes.
So we've got scholarship opportunities available for students who are passionate and have been involved with giving back. So those applications are due
March 15th.
March 15th. So, maybe if you're looking for something to do before spring break starts, you should go and check out our scholarship opportunities because you never know.
There you go. Any last questions over there, Tristan?
I mean, my last question was going to be events coming up, and you guys pretty well covered that.
Beth went on a rant there, man. She was rolling.
Yeah.
That was good. Well, it's good. Means you're busy. We all know you do. Both of you do a lot on campus, which is to be commended. And this food pantry is even, the cream on top there. A couple minutes left. Anything we forgot, or that you one of the things is, what have you learned so far by running that food pantry? I mean, you're a few months in now. What's the biggest thing you've learned?
I've learned that we can move 3,000 pounds of food in an hour, which I was not expecting to ever need to know that, probably in my life. And
Crystal, what about you? Sorry.
no, you're good.
I was just thinking. I don't have one off the top. I think it's just been really interesting. Like, I've volunteered or we've worked at the Charleston Food Pantry all these years, and we've kind of like done the day-to-day, but to be on the other side doing all the logistics, all the work that goes into it, how quickly the food goes through and you got to reorder it, and trying to be like, okay, well, do we need to serve 50 students this month or 200 students? And managing all that's been really interesting to process to learn.
See, after today, you're going to have like 300 people lined up there. You're
It's
gonna blow them
fine.
off.
We want them to come. We want them to come.
We're ready.
All right. Food question. Favorite snack food?
Pretzels.
Chips.
I'll let you answer too, Tristan.
Apples.
Apples. All right. What about a food you just can't stand?
Mayonnaise. Ranch.
Mayonnaise and ranch?
Yeah.
Spinach.
See, I like basically all foods, but here's the thing. Like, I don't like melons. Like, like honeydew
Yeah, no.
or like
I don't even know,
whatever.
smell or something like
They're
that?
just like overrated. Like, they're fine. I'll eat them, but like don't give me some strawberries, blueberries,
Yes,
like
yes.
good fruits. Yeah.
Favorite thing, like to, like at a ballpark or something, if you're going to go up to the concession stand and get something.
Soft pretzel.
I was going to say that.
You can
Pretzel
say it,
cheese.
it's fine.
I'll go like a brat.
There you go. That'd probably be mine too. So, all right. Well, contact information. You got about 15 seconds. Go.
581-3967 is our phone number, and volunteer at eiu.edu if you want to shoot us an email. We'll be happy to explore any and all opportunities with you.
Well, thank you so much. Great seeing you two in person, and continue the good work here at EIU.